So every year, the Bureau of Labor Statistics publishes a consumer price index that measures inflation. The problem is that there's a vested interest to understate inflation because a lot of entitlement programs, especially Social Security, is indexed to inflation. The tax brackets on our federal taxes are also indexed to inflation. And so when inflation is understated, not only is Social Security benefits cut, but also our taxes are increased because even though it might take 10-20% more in income to equal what you made last year, your standard deduction might only go up 5%, and you can see how that's a hidden tax increase. Right, so I thought I would think about some prices that I've heard either on the news or in movies and see what they are if we used shadow stats, which is the model of inflation that was used by the Bureau of Labor Statistics before Nixon took us off the gold standard in 1971. Now let's see, in Home Alone 1, just before they leave for France, they order pizza one night, right? And Kevin's parents were very shocked at the price of pizza, and then his uncle Frank says, 10 pizzas times $12, and so that was $12. The movie was made in 1990. I'm gonna assume that it was set in 1990 as well. And right now we're in 2020, but the calculator only goes up to 2019. Let's see what it's going to be even higher if we could put in 2020, right? Because of all the inflation that we've created during the COVID-19 crisis. But let's just see what it was in 2019. $12 in 1990 was $130.99. So I don't know what size the pizza it was, but a pizza used to cost $131 in today's money back in 1990. It kind of makes sense, right? With all this better technology that we have, right now we can trade with just about anybody in the world, right? We can send the pizza ingredients here. We have AI, right, to put it together, and for the distribution and the logistics to get all those ingredients. Energy is a whole lot cheaper now that we have alternatives, right? It makes sense that the price of pizza has gone down 80 or 90% over the last 3 decades with all this new technology, right? That makes sense. Okay, now in Home Alone 2, Kevin, at the end of the movie, gets scolded by his dad saying, Kevin, you spent $967 on room service. $967, and the movie was made in 1992. And let's see what that was. That was $9,407.80. So obviously quite a bit. That might be comparable to what somebody might pay today, right? This is Manhattan that we're talking about, right? Probably a little bit higher than what you would pay today. But that makes sense, right? We have a global economy nowadays compared to in 1990 where you have people all around the world flocking to New York for opportunities, right? I would imagine there's a lot of undocumented workers in Manhattan. Maybe not at the Plaza Hotel, right? Incidentally, 7 years before the movie, the Plaza Hotel was the scene for signing of a currency agreement. It's called the Plaza Accord, right? Okay, in the movie Dumb and Dumber, I'm trying to remember how much money there was in that suitcase. Oh, I remember. At the end of the movie, Lloyd was explaining that he had wrote an IOU for $275,000 for a car, right? It was a Ferrari, right? 274. What was it? 275. What did he say? See this? 275,000. That's a car. You might want to hang on to it, right? And the movie was made in 1994, right? And 275,000 in 1994 was about 2.4 million today, right? I can't think of too many cars one could buy for 2.4 million nowadays, right? But again, that makes sense, right? A lot of the parts for the car are much easily sourced nowadays. I remember in the 1990s, cars used to rust very badly, right? My mom had an Oldsmobile, and it was badly rusted, right? We didn't have galvanizing at the time, right? Nowadays, you can go into Walmart and buy a can of zinc that you could spray, probably not on the exterior of the car, but on the interior, right? I recently just cleaned a ton of rust from the interior of my car, and then I sprayed some fresh zinc on it, right? That kind of technology didn't seem to exist in the night. It probably existed in chemistry books, but not in practice, right? Okay, what other movies? Right now a lot of Americans are taking road trips, right? In National Lampoon's Vacation, the Griswolds have got taken by this car mechanic, and they needed to cash a check for $300 to continue their trip, right? And so the father, he goes up to the hotel counter and says, "Can I write you a check for $1,000? Just give me $300. You know, I'm in a pinch right now." And the cashier doesn't let him do that. He walks away, and he slams the table, and the cash register opens, and he steals the money, but he puts a check in there, right? So he wasn't trying to steal. He was just in a bind, right? So $300 in the movie, I think, was set in 1983. 4,744. That's a pretty good vacation today, right? If I had 4,700. Let's see what I could do in terms of a vacation for that amount. I have family in Taiwan, and I often compete for the Computer Olympiad over there. And oftentimes I'll take a vacation there for a couple weeks. I'll stay in a hostel. Let's see, last year I was in a hostel there for 3 weeks, and I think I paid about $400 for the hostel, and I paid about $1,200 maybe for the airfare. And then I had to park my car, which was pretty cheap because I parked a considerable distance from the airport, and then I took a bus. I think I paid about $100 for the parking. So that's at least 2 or 3 trips to Taiwan for me, right? Certainly not just a road trip across the or even just part of a road trip. Right? They just needed it to be able to get back home, right? What other movie? I'm trying to think of some of my other favorite movies. In Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, I think Charlie paid a silver dollar for one of those Wonka bars. Right? He found a silver dollar in the gutter. Let's see, $1 in 1971. The movie was set in 1971. $39 for a Wonka bar. Right? By comparison, this chocolate bar, which you can get at most grocery stores in the U.S., right, not just at specialty stores, and this is pure chocolate, right? The Wonka bar was probably only 10 or 20% chocolate, right? But I paid about $2.50 for this, right? So for the price of one Wonka bar, which was mostly sugar, right, and only a hint of chocolate, I could now buy 15 bars of pure chocolate. Right? Which makes sense, right? Because we have the technology and the logistics to send the chocolate halfway around the world nowadays. Where was this made? This chocolate bar was made in Canada, right? Brought up in Canada. I don't know what the trade situation between the U.S. and Canada was like in 1971, right? I don't think we had free trade between the U.S. and Canada until NAFTA, right? So 1993 or so. Anyways, and then the technology, obviously, right? Anyway, so in an honest economy, as you can see, over the decades, prices have gone down by at least a factor of 3 or 4 every decade, right? It's only that we're printing money a lot faster than prices can naturally come down.